threesome with a guy and his mom, and that was like his birth mother.
When you say threesome, everybody interacted with each other.
She was sucking dick. He
Get
said,
the girl the demon possessed.
"Come suck this dick." And so I went and I sucked his dick. I mean,
nasty bitch.
but yo,
I decided to text a couple of friends here to get their reaction. I got a way to play the person's voice note. Let's just have a quick listen.
There is something fundamentally wrong.
That's just very sad. So I went on Google Scholar to also get some studies and all of that. So the first one I saw, I just kind of got access to the journal, Elsevier, Aggression and Violent Behavior. So the abstract of this journal is, look at this, I'm highlighting the text. The fact that studies found stronger effects for lengthier abuse that went on for a very long time, that is even still going on into adulthood. Now, someone is saying we have to blame the child. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. So today I'll be discussing a viral video that I saw on IG. It was shared to me by one of my, those feminist friends you have, and you still love them because they're your friends, but sometimes you have to set them straight. A very edgy, controversial topic, which kind of gave me the ick and that disgusting feel. I just got out of bed and said I should make this video. I've had this discussion with a couple of friends too, so I'll be sharing their reactions. Yeah, so this is about to be a good one. Yeah, so it's about a video of a lady on a podcast saying some things that are so unpleasant to the ear. And I had one of these feminist ladies that actually justified this action, which is very absurd. To me, I felt, what the hell? Like, why would anyone try to guilt trip the son in this toxic parent-child relationship? But let's just watch the video.
I had a threesome with a guy and his mom, and that was like his birth mother.
When you say threesome, everybody interacted with each other.
She was sucking dick. He said, and I quote, "Do what you do best and come suck this dick."
To his mother.
To his mother. She got on her knees and she did what she was told to do.
Absolutely disgusting.
After she stopped sucking his dick,
let's just first pause the video right there. Like, she said she was turned on. Like, what the hell? In what world? Like, where is the decorum? Where is the like sense of responsibility towards the young man? The mother just said that I don't see a man being involved in such level of, I don't even have the word for it, so I don't even get banned on YouTube, because if I should really describe this, I might get banned. But let's go on with the video.
Come suck this dick. And so I went and I sucked his dick. I mean,
Bro.
But yo, she was gobbling, and she eats some good pussy.
It's Beth's mother. Like, this is my actual reaction when I saw this video. Like, that was enough internet. But the issue is, this particular lady that shared this thing with me actually now
I had a threesome.
Just believed it's kind of okay or genuine, or I don't even know what she really felt. She really felt the blame didn't fall on the woman as the adult in that relationship. Like, why would a woman put her son through that? There has to be some high level of grooming that has gone on from a very young age. I was absolutely disgusted by both the video and the opinion of this feminist that was supporting this. So I called her out, and we had a huge fallout that, ladies do what ladies do best. When they are being called out and being told the truth, she hung up on the phone when we eventually talked about it weeks later, because she still snuck it into a conversation weeks later, trying to say, okay, women are not the problem. Because immediately when I saw that clip, my first reaction was like, oh God, women. I don't think there should be any responsible man that should see that and actually be in support. But let's just dive right in to people's reaction. I decided to text a couple of friends here to get their reaction. So for this first one, this person is a female, so I just shared it with them that Hey, Mama, what's your thoughts on this short clip? The person was like, all the three of them are mad, crazy people. What do you want me to say though? The person didn't understand I was trying to get maybe a reaction for content and all of that. And also providing anonymity. She said, so I explained to her that a woman sent this to me and all of that. And so the person obviously said, why is it the son? The mother is the one to be blamed. Fair. I was like, yeah, I know, right? It instantly tick the red flag. Imagine blaming the child when the parent is meant to be the responsible one to set them on a path of righteousness and a path without trauma. Because imagine if he still sees that as normal, and let's assume when this clip came out, that was the first dose of reality. Other women have been joining in, not calling out that predatory behavior. Just imagine. Now, this lady said, can't blame her. Not everyone is mature and know what is right in the after giving critical thought to things. That's what she meant. Talking about the feminist lady, which is my very cool friend too, and I love her to death, but there are some things that are just inexcusable and have to be seriously called out. This person said it's obvious the mother and son have been doing it for years, and who knows, maybe it's the mother that initiated it. Let me shift my screen down a bit. Maybe you guys will be able to see some other part of the text you've not been able to see before. So in case you've read the top, you'll be able to read the bottom. Of course, I said it would have started when it was little and all of that, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, this person just sent the last message that yes, one of the things she has learned over the years is that mothers should also be very careful in the way they're dressing in front of their male children. You don't get too explicit. Even you have to be careful the way you're dressing. Talk less of now going ahead to sleep with your kids. Now, this is another lady now, for example. So I gave her the context of the video and sent it to her and what transpired. This person also was like alarmed, like blame the son. Blame the freaking mother, like, come on. So I was also trying to push for the truth because, sometimes maybe just being biased. I asked the person, you don't think the son can be blamed as an adult and could have decided to stop? I obviously understand that someone brought up in that kind of way will not have a proper understanding of certain boundaries and what should not be done, because their fundamental developmental years have been overtaken by these illicit and demonic behaviors. Now, so the person said it definitely could have made better choices as an adult. Yeah, that is true. Some people can make better choices as adults, but there are sometimes they have to really dig deep and maybe experience some event that can trigger those things. In some adults too, like maybe going for therapy and some things like that. But imagine living that lifestyle and people it comes in contact with, like even other women that think should be mothers and should be responsible adults, and they go along with it. It will be very difficult for someone like that to see what he's doing as being wrong. Like, I'm just absolutely petrified by everything that is going on. But let's go on with the video. So I also asked, okay, giving you both angles, yeah. And now I'm saying she said they both get the blame somehow. Do you understand? She's saying they both get the blame somehow, which I understand too. And I said, okay, you don't think he has been groomed into saying that as normal? I might not say anything wrong with it. Then she said, yeah, as kids get older, they get to know maybe right from wrong and all of that. But that is true. But we have to realize that as kids get older, we all have that way of realizing things are wrong or right from what we've been pre-programmed with sometimes. Sometimes it's religion that sets people straight. Sometimes it's parental instruction. Sometimes it is you know, trying things and getting burnt, like making accidents, touching fire and it burns you, or you are being punished. Those are some things that obviously, set kids straight. But let's go on. He could have known right and wrong, and at some point, he could have known what she was doing wrong. He could have just been addicted to it because he was groomed for such, which is also very true. And I think that's even the one that is most likely, because he was already groomed for such and nobody was there to set him straight. I'm sure that's a single father household. And that's one of the arms when we talk about fathers have to be existent in the house, because maybe the lady didn't even have a man and she stooped so low to start doing such and abusing her son. But let's go on. She said the mother gets the larger blame. She gets most of it. And I also had to ask if I didn't sway them in any way, because I was trying to get people's genuine reaction, because it was kind of absurd for me to hear a woman blaming men or trying to include the young man that was groomed up in such manner, trying to blame the victim. Because if the tables were turned, I definitely know this will not be the case. Going on, this is another female now, for example. She said, blaming him for what? From what I gathered, they are all adults and no one was forced into anything. So if there's any blame, it's for all involved. Besides, it's obvious that wasn't the first time the mother and son would do such. Okay, I said yes. Now let's turn the tables. If a father slept with his daughter, who will you blame? Will a random man join in? Thoughts. She now said, of course, we'll blame the father more, because men are seen as authority figures in the society. Now, a woman has claimed men are seen as authority figures in the society. So that means men are meant to be leaders and they are held to a higher standard. are held to a higher standard than women. I just woke up, so forgive the voice crack. But she now said, truth be told, if the daughter is an adult and wasn't coerced, it is sick, but they are both to blame. Two things are always considered. One, who is the older person? That should be the adult and make good decisions. Second, who is in the position of authority, who can influence the other person, maybe by forcing or convincing them to comply. In this case, in both of these scenarios, the mother takes the blame. But let's go on. If both are adults and nobody was forced, then there's no one complaining. So no blame should be placed on anybody. If the society wants to pass judgment, all parties involved should be blamed. Definitely, all parties will be blamed and disgusted by their acts. But the fact still remains, if it's a female child, everybody will stand up for the female child and stand up and just lose their freaking minds. But I understand, since the tables are turned, the world has a bias and always think men that are abused have some form of, no matter how young, have some form of authority or have some form of reasonable thinking to have been able to stop that and stop being maybe abused from a young age to the point that it warps their form of thinking. I also include some scientific studies in this when I'm done. We have to look through Google Scholar and some things like that, and some studies I have to use my university email to access. One of my old student emails. So now, she also continued, who says this isn't happening? There's nothing that is impossible in this age, in this day and age. Okay. So she's saying if the reverse was the case, that can also happen. And to me, I said, well, I doubt, but we can't say. No man would say it boldly to the whole world, though, because I know no man would do such and have the effrontery to come and sit on a podcast and start glorifying incest and bad behavior and not being able to call out the history of abuse. So I know if you want to see these things very well, you can, increase your resolution at the bottom right, somewhere here. somewhere here you can increase your resolution just on YouTube at the bottom right, maybe to 720p or something, and you can also zoom on your YouTube phone. You can just slide out to read some of these texts, because this is a kind of mind-boggling or interesting conversation. So she further said it's not normal, so definitely the child's mind has been messed up, but has been messed with, but everyone should know right from wrong and should be able to say no at a certain age, which is definitely true. But sometimes it takes more work. Some people break free from trauma and all these forms of abuse easily, and there are lots of humans that are weak-minded and everything. And this is someone that even sees the mother as someone he respects so much. Definitely. So I now wonder, but let's just go on. The science studies and psychological studies will deal with that. She said, "You are right. I don't know who the lady in the podcast is, but she is not well. No iota of shame whatsoever. No self-respect as far as I'm concerned. What was her aim of sharing that anyway?" Someone else also said, what was her aim? Maybe she has an OnlyFans, or she's just trying to promote some profanity. And I always see this from Black Americans. Like, they claim to have a culture, and is this the culture they promote? Because it's absolutely insanity. They keep saying the CIA is working against their communities and all of that. They themselves are the one working against themselves and just destroying the family unit and destroying lots of things. Nobody's really working against them. So at some point, they have to take full accountability and stop blaming white people for their suffering. Because we understand some other parts of the world, white people are doing. No, forget about all of that. You can't blame the white people in your country or your government for some psyop that people are just acting deranged and nobody's calling her out. I could see the faces of all those guys in that clip. They were absolutely petrified, but they couldn't even say anything because it's absolutely absurd but going on. So she said, this particular female said, so if grooming is the issue, then the parent is to blame. But an adult still has to take responsibility for their actions. Well, and I said shame is needed in society. She furthermore went to say, you are right. I don't know who the lady is. Okay, I've read that part. Then she said, saying rubbish with pride, like she was saying rubbish with pride, washing a dirty linen in public, and all of that, that's the order of the day. The world has seen better days, really. And I really agree. The world has truly seen better days. So now to him, the first man that, I got their honest reaction from this. He first laughed at is the guy at the end sipping his coffee or tea or anything. And he said, the mother is to blame. Always, always. I love how men see this absolutely differently. If a father does this, we will put 100% blame on the father and he will be disciplined or dealt with severely. But I understand that, since he's a boy child, he still has to take some level of responsibility. I don't know what to say, but I guess that's just the way it is because that's crazy. Moving on. He said, even if she had him at age 9 and is just 10 years older, which I strongly doubt because they're in a first world country and maybe at least she would have, worst case scenario, she would be a teenager if that was meant to happen. Let's say she would have been a teenager, because it's rare for her to, conceive him at 9 or 10. But moving on. He said she has misled the young man, enabled him, and is an accomplice. I obviously doubt she had him at 10. I understand. So he said having your kid have sex in your own house with his fiancée is not even tolerable. Which is absolutely true. Nobody should even feel comfortable having sex where their parents or family are. It's just absolutely totally weird. But moving on, no man will get turned on by father and daughter doing such useless acts. he continued to say, all the guys in the video are appalled. And I'm like, bro, that is freaking true. I asked what he thought of the lady's reaction, joining in without even saying it openly on the podcast without having shame. He said, to say it is worse than doing it and hiding it. And he just concluded it's a subtle ad for something she's promoting, maybe like a OnlyFans or something. And I'm like, that could be absolutely correct. Because why would she come online to be saying such and just, bro, I'm just dumbfounded. But moving on. To join the man to eat his own daughter, nah, that is wild. That is wild. And that is absolutely wild. Moving on to another female right now. Okay, moving on to another female. Let me see if I can move my cam a little bit so we can see what the discussion is about. Okay, so I sent the clip and the person said, this is just insane. It's one thing to have a threesome, but with mother and son, that is just sick coming from a female. Absolutely. I gave context, shared with a feminist, and I'm not even sparing her because I know she's a feminist. Her ideologies lean heavily towards that direction, and that's why she has that bias towards blaming the progeny, blaming the child, blaming the infant that was raised in this immoral act. So, this person obviously said both genders fault as how are both genders at fault? The person, I tried to make sure the person understood what I was saying, and the person went further to say the son is not the problem, it's the mom. Now the mama, that is Nigerian pidgin, and she's one that indulged the boy, yeah. So which is obviously true. She's one that obviously indulged the boy in such and also brought him up like that. Now, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Red flags, red flags, red flags. Another random male giving his reaction now. So, this particular man said, the first said, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck. This is insanity. His reaction, he said his reaction doesn't even pass that, and I gave him context about a lady claiming the issue is the guy and still now sticking to that narrative after a while. And I'm like, who does that? Now, come to think of it, yeah. He fired back saying, is she trying to sound controversial or she's just naturally stupid? Whoa. So his mom, who is the eldest and supposed to be the most matured among all of them, bears no fault. Exactly. Like, is she trying to say women that hold at that level have no level of maturity and can't be accountable and can't be sensible? Because I wonder why she didn't really think in that direction, and she's trying to say both men and women have issues. Both men and women can have issues, but in particular situations, you don't blame the child. If it's another situation that a man was doing this, 100% blame will fall on the man. But let's go on. I said I was so disappointed in her reasoning. She still brought it up weeks later, like she's right. And that exactly was what motivated this video. Because anytime one says evil and people defending some form of evil, it has to be called out, addressed, trashed immediately. Now, this, young gentleman responded with the B word. I had to start that out and said, the B word had time to think and still doubled down on her stupidity. Nah, she's naturally restarted. I know what you mean. I know you understand what I mean. Naturally restarted. I don't want to use the hard word right here, but as I even typed it, and which I absolutely understand. I guess we've come to the end of this clip. So also I think I had a voice note from someone. I think I also had a voice note from someone that I would love to include in. So I'll just speed up this clip around here and try to get that set up. So I got a way to play the person's voice note. Let's just have a quick listen.
There is something fundamentally wrong with the woman, right? There is something very fundamentally wrong with the woman. And also the woman that also enjoyed the fact that the mother performed oral sex on her son, that she was turned on by it. Something is fundamentally wrong with all of them. And the fact that the boy has been raised into seeing it as normal. I mean, except that boy goes through some serious rehabilitation, if he ends up having children, he's going to raise dysfunctional children as himself. And the mother, like I said, there's something fundamentally wrong with her. And she has misused the bond between her and her son. And she has also misused the fact, she has also interpreted or passed on sexual frustration from not having a man in her life, passed it on to her son for her own pleasure. The mother is a selfish person. And the other lady in the picture, it is very, very possible that if she has a son too, and she's in that situation as the mother, she would do the same thing. I know they say women are building societies, but this one, she's destroying a society, a man. She's destroying a man. That's what she's doing. Society is destroying society too.
Okay. So I guess we can hear from uh, another lady. Yeah. So that's just one of one of the few people I asked for their, esteemed opinion on this very controversial issue. So first of all, I said I should put in a prompt in Gemini and how I asked Gemini how adults and parents grooming their kids and how it builds effects on their perspective on right or wrong, especially when it comes to sexual norms and incest. I made a typo there, but come on, let's just read what this came back with. I didn't want to use the deep research function because that is kind of limited. We'll still go to Google Scholar to search that out. Now, how grooming occurs. The person will build trust and affection. Who is there? Who is there to like compete or easily build this trust and affection than this person's relative? Isolating the child, obviously, maybe breaking up with the father, isolating the child, normalizing inappropriate behavior, keeping secrets, and creating dependency. Who else can create dependency other than the parent of the child? These are peculiar reasons why we blame the parent. So, effects on the child's perspective of right or wrong, distorted sexual norms that comes into play. That has been shown in multiple studies. The child may come to believe that the abuser's behavior is normal or even a sign of love, especially when it starts gradually and is accompanied by positive reinforcement. This can lead to confusion about healthy sexual boundaries and relationships. Absolutely. Like, I don't know why some won't see it this particular way. And it's just, I don't know what to say about that, but let's just move on. Erosion of trust, the betrayal when their eyes finally get opened and when they realize what they're doing. Internalized shame or guilt, which can end up leading to, drug dependency, lots of just mental breakdown and confusion about the whole incest thing, that the child's understanding of family roles and boundaries becomes severely distorted from a very young age. And like the Bible also says, once you train up a child in a certain way from their young age, that is how they are formed and warped for life. Like, imagine the time that has gone into this grooming and abuse that can't be taken back. Imagine the years of therapy, the years of let's just move on. The long-term consequences, mental health issues like depression, anxiety, PTSD, difficulties with intimacy and forming healthy relationships. And this is why these people keep on going back to this abusers because they can't form healthy relationships and have issues with intimacy with other people. Their whole sexual ideologies and sexual, background has been warped. Low self-esteem and distorted self-image, increased risk of substance abuse and self-destructive behaviors, potential for repeating the cycle of abuse in adulthood. Now, just think about that. Now, I ask, how does this affect decision making as an adult, especially with sexual grooming as the form of abuse? In a case where the young adult, a son, is still sleeping with the mother as normal. And this, these links here, Braveheart, Rain, a popular website, Presidium, that, discuss these popular mental health issues and, cases of abuse and all. So, Gemini came back and said the insidious nature of grooming, especially when perpetrated by a parent, can have devastating and long-lasting effects on a child's developing understanding of right or wrong and their decision-making abilities as an adult. I knew that right from time. I was just, pushing it to the AI and all of that to just see the response because I know Google's Gemini has access to a lot of, links and all of that. So now let's see how this might affect his decision-making as an adult. Severely distorted sexual norms and boundaries. First of all, this can cause a normalization of incest in the child's brain. The most immediate and critical impact is the complete distortion of what constitutes a normal and healthy sexual relationship. The grooming process would have systematically dismantled the natural incest taboo, leading him to genuinely perceive this relationship as acceptable, even loving, because that's what the child has known throughout their entire life. Just imagine the level of mind. I don't want to use the F word out of respect for the person's trauma, because difficulty recognizing harm. He may struggle to understand why others would view this relationship as wrong or harmful because their mind has been warped from the very beginning. His internal compass regarding sexual ethics within the family unit would be fundamentally broken. These are the things I've been talking about. I was trying to initiate and drive into the conversation, and it takes only a level-headed person to actually understand. The argument with this particular, extreme feminist, even if she want to deny it, she has this extreme feminist ideology. That's why, and I understand if they can't accept that the parent in a certain situation, being a woman, has to be held accountable and is absolutely wrong for jeopardizing the life of of their child, no matter how old they've gotten now. The absolute consequence of such actions, the fault, the blame should fall on them. Moving on to the third bullet point here, impaired understanding of consent and power dynamics. The inherent power imbalance in a parent-child relationship that they're now, especially when sexualized, is a core element of abuse. Grooming often manipulates the child's understanding of consent, making them feel obligated or even desiring the interaction. As an adult, it may have difficulty navigating consent in other relationships and may not recognize or respect healthy boundaries. The person that should have taught him healthy boundaries. This is how women raise people that go out there to even abuse other people or don't understand the form of consent. You can't shut down this form of negativity. You empower it, and it causes a ripple effect down the line to other people that encounter these broken individuals, and it's just absolutely wrong. For the betterment of the community, I feel these are things that should be called out and shut down and should not be promoted, because it's just ridiculous. So other things like the impact on trust, on trust and relationships, like difficulty forming healthy romantic relationships, social isolation, erosion of trust in others, emotional and psychological consequences, internalized shame and guilt, and identity confusion. His sense of self and his role within the family and society would be severely compromised. The blurring of parental and sexual roles can lead to significant identity confusion. mental health issues, difficulty with sympathy and perspective taking, decision making in general. Now the effect, it impairs their judgment. The fundamental distortion of his significant moral and social boundary can affect his overall judgment and decision making abilities in other areas of life. His ability to assess risk and understand social norms may be compromised. Next bullet point, dependence and lack of autonomy. And all these have links to websites that actually explain all these things. Maybe you could also just, put this prompt in yourself. I don't need to even drop the links. I can drop the links, but you can also put this prompt in yourself into Gemini or any other AI language model. Now, dependence and lack of autonomy. Grooming often fosters dependence on the abuser. Now, think of how easy it would have been for the mother to manipulate this boy or this young man now that I'm sure he's gotten older to the age of, even having sex. Now, grooming fosters this dependence. If she has to take care of the boy, take care and sponsor all of his needs, he has nowhere to go. Is fully dependent on this particular individual. Like, that's how evil it is. The child has no options growing up. As an adult, he may now struggle with autonomy and independent making decisions. Like, now that he's left alone in the world without the abuser, he now struggles with his own decision making, and especially if that incestuous relationship now even continues into adulthood. It is critical to understand that this situation is a result of severe abuse and manipulation. Severe abuse and manipulation. The son's perception of normality does not negate the profound harm and illegality of the act. Therapeutic intervention focusing on trauma, boundary setting, healthy relationships, and re-establishing a normal understanding of sexual ethics and family rules would be essential for the son to begin to heal and develop a healthy perspective on relationships and decision making. This would be a long and complex process. Exactly. It would take a whole level of therapy and sometimes medication to get them out of their head and even, see things differently. Like, it's just sad to have such kind of people as parents that, they will now set you behind when others start life on a very good note with no setbacks. They set you back 50 years with the kind of, irresponsible behavior that they introduce to you and all of that. That's just very sad. That's just very sad. So I went on Google Scholar to also get some studies and all of that. So the first one I saw, I just kind of got access to the journal, Elsevier, Aggression and Violent Behavior. So the abstract of this journal is that there is extensive evidence that childhood sexual abuse, in quotes, has deleterious consequences for adult psychological and physical functioning. The extent to which this hampers victims in the fulfillment of adult roles such as marriage, employment, parenting is less clear. So in this review, the researchers investigated the effects of this childhood sexual abuse on adult roles in the domains of education, employment, law and order, like, breaking, committing crimes, offending, relationships, and parenting. They reviewed the literature published since 1990, like lots of articles and journals, and they found that child sexual abuse appears to be associated with the quality of adult roles more than the transition to these roles per se. The article ends with a discussion on the results and recommendations for future use. In order not to bore everybody with the science, let's just jump to, the results and discussions at the very end, because this, I'm sure, this. I can even leave a link to this study, but if people who have access to it, they can as well just pause the video and read this. So now the conclusion and discussion here. They systematically review these literatures from 1990, yada yada yada. The first conclusion overall is that this CSA, child sexual abuse, is related to negative outcomes in various domains of adult functioning. Although the findings are varied, CSA is not only associated with psychological problems, as was demonstrated amply in the literature, but may affect a broad array of adult life domains. The victims engage on average less in higher forms of education and end up in lower educational levels than non-victims. One of the disadvantages. Now, these victims are not consistently less often employed. Employed CSA victims do have lower incomes generally than people without this history of abuse. And in addition, even if evidence is remarkably scarce here, the victims appear more likely to be arrested in adulthood. Now you see where what perspective on life and different boundaries and values messes them up to even spend lots of, and that's why most children raised by single mothers end up being promiscuous or in jail. This is a very valid statistics from the United States. Like, they are obviously the leaders in research and documenting things. Anyone that wants to dispute that can dispute that in the comments, and we can I can invite you on a call and we discuss these things. But moving on, let me move to another paragraph just to save time in this video. So let me move to the last paragraph, for example. So I'm trying to see where they came to a conclusion. Or maybe I should just run through the second and third explanations here. Like, the second explanation for victims of CSA is that it damages or interrupts the child's schooling outcome. It affects the academic performance and invariably affects on education spirals into employment outcomes and all of that. And when the child does not perform up to potential in school, this reduces their chances of finding a well-paying job. Yeah. Okay. And the third possible explanation is that the negative outcomes are due to the fact that some children are entrenched in a cycle of not only sexual but also other abuse. They get beaten and seen, like, I don't know, maybe tools to just use anyhow. The victims may attempt to escape this by making transitions to adulthood in a sense too early, leaving the family home and entering the labor market without sufficient qualifications to make a living, cohabiting with a partner too soon, because they're trying to get away from that abuse. People that don't get away from that abuse too soon get sucked crazily into it, and even those that get away are still having setbacks in life, which is just totally crazy. Now, and they even sometimes end up becoming a parent at a very young age. These young victims, according to this explanation, therefore, do not make transitions to adult roles. But given that these are age inappropriate, this may explain the generally lower quality of outcomes. The fact that some studies found that the effects of this sexual abuse in kids were mediated by other adverse childhood experiences, such as physical abuse or neglect. Sure, you get, but in this particular case, the parents didn't even neglect the son, was actively involved in the life up until now, but the mother is even the abuser, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. The fact that these studies have found stronger effects for lengthier abuse, which is conceivably more often abuse taking place at home, lends further support. Now, look at this. I'm highlighting the text. The fact that studies found stronger effects for lengthier abuse that went on for a very long time, that is even still going on into adulthood. Now, someone is saying we have to blame the child. Like, come on. Like, let's just be realistic. Let's just be realistic at this point, because I don't know. I'll just leave and end the video here. Thanks if you made it to this particular, if to this particular location. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, see you in the next video. This had to be said and this had to be done. I'm looking at you.